Right, a very warm welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about arts and culture in South Africa and even heritage as well, which I think often gets dropped off, but a very integral part of the conversation. And we've got an esteemed panel here, and we've already started getting questions from the floor, and we're also monitoring Twitter at Morning Live SABC if you'd like to be part of this conversation as well, and we'll get you an answer in real time. And just before the break, we did hear a question. The first one was from Joan asking about social cohesion and what does that mean and what is government doing to make sure that that actually happens. Then we've started hearing from Pemelo Siditi, who's asking a question about transformation in the creative industries. Let's go back to Pemelo and let's let him finish his question in 30 seconds.
Okay. My question is, as we develop the new version of the white paper, how are we going to ascertain that the white monopoly infrastructure that is currently existing will be resolved in the white paper? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And then, that was brilliant. And then Mpo is on table number 3. Mpo?
Thank you, Peter. And
we're going to need to get you to stand so our camera can pick you up.
Yeah, I'm very tall, so I was afraid to...
No, it's okay. The camera will rise to the occasion.
All right. Thank you, Peter, and Minister, and the honorable guest. My question is very simple. It is also goes with transformation, because what does the Department of Art and Culture do in terms of to make sure that people with disability are represented? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And in fact, I'm so glad that you've asked that question because just during the break, Akin has got other commitments and he's had to leave us, but we're grateful for his contribution at the beginning, and I think he's given us some food for thought. And we've now brought a legend in our own lifetime, Babsy Mlangeni, who's joined us. Thank you very much indeed, and a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
And that question that's just come through, and I want to get a comment from you as well, because I know that in the 60s, you struggled to get people to take you seriously as a musician because you were blind. Tell us about that experience, and have things changed over time for people with disabilities in the arts?
Yes, firstly, I'd like to morning to the viewers and everybody here. Yes, it was not easy in the 1960s. It was quite difficult, especially when I went to try to get a deal, a recording deal. The so-called talent scouts would ask a very foolish question, saying, Babsy, how will you sing being blind? Then I will say that I'll also ask a very, very important question and say to them, tell me, have you ever heard eyes singing? So yes, there are a lot of programs about the musicians with disabilities these days, but on the ground, nothing's happening because there are many shows that are sponsored by the government, arts and culture and all that, but musicians with disabilities are not booked anyway. I don't know, because we are part and parcel of this country, but we're not given opportunity like the so-called able-bodied musicians. Why, I don't know. Because we are just as good, aren't we?
Yeah. All right, so let's get some responses then. So the first question was about social cohesion. What does this mean, you know? And is it something that we can encourage, or do people need to find their own Damascus Road to get them to change their hearts?
Well, it's about the unity, really. As enshrined in the Constitution, unity in our diversity. We come from a divided past. We know a lot about that, but a lot of work is being done and still has to be done to ensure that our people understand their South Africanness. And the project of social cohesion is about that, is about our society reconciling itself and you know, mapping a way forward as a society. Over a period of time, some sections in our society do not appreciate the fact that in bearing our past, we've got to compromise certain things and come together. From the point of view of government, we have programs not only from arts and culture only, but from the point of view of arts and culture, mainly it's engaging communities. We have what we call community conversations, where we go out to communities there, interact with communities, where we call the entire nation in discussing and mapping the way forward on social cohesion. We have had the summits on that. What is important is the program of following that up. Amongst those is for people to have allegiance to South Africa. There are people who, through their mouth, hate South Africa more than anything else. Sometimes you wonder, why are they still in South Africa? Saying and doing anything and everything negative about the country. South Africans have to be patriotic as South Africans, and programs of understanding our own national anthem, all of it, understanding our signs and symbols of the time, and embracing the national days, which is important. And the question is, 21 years down the line, why is it that every one of us say we hate apartheid? All of us say that. Nobody today raise a hand and say, I supported apartheid, I'm a protagonist of apartheid. But why is it that when we celebrate the death of apartheid, through Human Rights Day, through Freedom Day, and so on, people dissociate themselves with that? It's a conversation which has to continue. In schools, we are engaging kids to understand who they are. First and foremost, that they are Africans before they are South Africans, and they must understand why it's important for them to love their people and their country. So your organization seems to be doing education in this space. We partner with a lot of organizations. Would be open to partner with yours as well. But that's the main thing. South Africa has to be united in its diversity. But quickly on the second question, it was a long-winded but a very important intervention, because it reminded us where do we come from. Our history, as you say, is depicted from 1652, except being told that Vasco da Gama arrived in that province called Natal today on a Christmas, and in Portuguese, Christmas is Natal, and named it Natal. That 200 years, between 1400 to 1600, there's blank space. What we are told that we discovered you. We discovered you and your land, all of you together, you know? So we are correcting that, and one of the things and one of the projects would be launching on Monday is the Reconciliation Month. And amongst that is to correct the wrongs of the past where people name things wrongly. For instance, something called Anglo-Boer War, which was a South African war, where people are not told, well, they are told that there were 27,000 white women and children who died in the concentration camps. They are not told that there were 24,000 African women and children who died in those concentration camps, and the participation of African men in that war. So I agree with you on that. How are we going to change the landscape? As we say that this is your chance all of you here, actually, I was worried when I saw a lot of questions,
Yes.
Peter. I need answers from you. That's what I need.
Okay.
You must tell us, as government, what are these important things you think we should factor in reviewing the white paper?
All right.
We have ideas, but we want your ideas. You are the practitioners.
We'll get those comments from them. Prof, I want to ask you about this social cohesion thing. I've often pondered on this thing, and as an academic, you've read lots of books, and you've seen these journeys take place. You know, we're trying to change people's hearts. Can we do that through song, through sculptures, through theatre? Or do they have to go to church? I don't know. What needs to happen for us to have, because this is what social cohesion is about, really, isn't it? It's a change of heart. And I see it periodically. You know, when we went to watch the Rugby World Cup, I was in the Free State, and South Africa was playing France, I think. And this white guy came to me and he says, "Excuse me, which one is Shabalala, eh?" But it excited me because it was probably his first time watching a football match, and he had heard at least of one player. And we saw it in the rugby, but it's like few and far between. Can arts and culture be that glue or that magic that changes people's hearts to get that social cohesion?
Most certainly. It just so happened that I worked with the Ministry of Arts and Culture and with the National Development Plan on the issue of nation formation and social cohesion, and wrote the strategy for DEC on social cohesion and nation formation. Now, there are many factors which influence people's sense of belonging, of being part of a society, being part of a country. You can categorize them into economics. Do people have access to a decent work, or are they excluded from the economy? Do people have access to quality education, or is education so-so? Do they have access to security, to health, and all these other material things which make them feel part of a society? And we have a history where people were excluded from education. They were given menial jobs. Today we have high levels of unemployment, and we can go on and on about exclusions. Social cohesion is about inclusion. And then there are the subjective factors. How do you see yourself, as the minister said? Do you see yourself as a South African or as a member of an ethnic group? Or do you see yourself broadly as an African in South Africa? And then various other things that have to do with the self, or which culture. Culture is at the heart of this. Apartheid used culture to divide us, used the languages to divide people. The Constitution tries to bring everything together and declare the languages and the cultures as equal. In other words, they are all included in the new dispensation. But we need programs, ongoing programs, which make people feel proud of being South African, whether it's through sport, through our music, through our food, through our religions. All these things help to build a nation. It's a very slow process, but it's not something that we can give up. We have to do it in South Africa to avoid the country from imploding.
Mom, Dorothy, can you just add to that? Because I know that your music really upset the regime back in the day. So that people rallied around song often. Can we do that to change hearts as well around song, to get people to feel better about each other and about our country?
Of course you can, Peter, because, you know, a song, I was deported from this country in 1953 because I had sung a song about Dr. Malano Mthethwa Nzima. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Now, just Mthethwa Nzima, bantu benkosi, that sent me out of the country. Things like Abokauleza, you know. So a song, you write a song about what is happening. For instance, right now I have so many songs, lyrics, that can fill a bigger room than this about what is happening right now. This is why I said I cannot start talking about it because it needs the whole 50 years more to come for me to finish my complaints to my minister here about what is wrong in this industry right now. The blind people and the old people like me, who is 80 years old, are no more getting jobs in this country because I'm Dala Lona, and yet my voice is not old. Thank you. My voice is not old, and I still hear younger musicians singing my songs. Baningi abacula uNontsokolo la nekhaya, baningi abacula lendaba ibuhlungu. They still dance to Nontsokolo, which is almost 60 years old. And blind people and old people, my minister, we are not getting jobs in this country because, hey man, you know, so changing people is about singing. I can sing a song about you right now. How beautiful you are, how lovely you are. Right now, I can make a tune out of what I'm saying right now. And that my minister, because my minister, this minister I'm sitting next to, for me, he is different from all the ministers we had.
That's for sure.
There is improvement. There is a lot that has improved in our, in our thing because of this minister that we have right now. I'm not saying this because he's here. No. I'm sure that people like Babsy Mlangeni will bear me out. And some of the musicians who are here will bear me out, will agree with what I'm saying right now about our minister right now. We never had things like this with our other ministers. So...
Okay. All right, so Minister, Mthethwa Babsy Mlangeni said blind people are still not getting gigs. People with disabilities are still not getting gigs. And we've got people with young voices, but perhaps have got a little bit of grey hair. They're not getting gigs. What is government doing about these people?
Well, thanks, Peter. I think the same sentiment was expressed by Paul earlier on there. We think about this, Peter. Within a year in this area, we've been thinking about all the sectors, because if you are in arts, culture, and heritage, you are talking from a newly born to somebody as old as Ndoro and above. So we've been thinking about this, especially the old people. The discussion Ma is raising, they have raised in the past. And as a result, we've created the legacy project, the Living Legends legacy project, precisely for them to say, we acknowledge who you are. But what she didn't say is that they said to us, we don't want handouts from government. We want you to help us to help our youth to know music. It's precisely because of that this triple LP is about master classes. They are going to be conducting master classes for younger generations in our country and enhancing those youth or those young people who are making it, because there are young people today who are rising stars, who are going to be Dorothy of the future, Babsy Mlangeni, Masuka, and others. And we're looking at that very category, and it's part of the programs, and will continue, because even before Babu Mlangeni came to the picture, we've been discussing this thing, that it can't be that we have people who would be left out when they have so much to offer in our country. And soon people would be seeing some of these things coming into fruition. So they are within the radar, and we are engaging with them on an ongoing basis. Not forgetting, as I say, young people. You see Caspar Nyoves that filled the dome,
Yes.
which has been filled by international artists in the past. And it's a big up to the youth as well. So this combination of incubator program by the masters and the master class. Abdullah Ibrahim, the day before yesterday, called us and said, I can't wait to come back home and be part of these master classes because we have to impart this to the younger generation.
All right, let's go back to our tables. Let's start on table number 8. Firdaus Bolbolia, thank you very much. Great. Another prominent filmmaker doing great things, exporting a lot of our product.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Minister. And Mama Dorothy, you were wonderful and powerful. And you made me quite emotional. My concerns and questions really are around the film sector, the film industry. And Akin very carefully put through the narrative. But I think the question around distribution, exhibition, audience development, we've been singing the same song for a very long time. And I'm wondering how we're going to change that mood. We have, as a company, 5 feature films that we have not been able to have broadcast in this country. We have to compete with Hollywood, and this is a big concern. I think there are wonderful examples of the Danish film model, the Asian film model, where you begin to produce local content and allow local content to be shown, both in terms of your broadcaster, but also in the cinemas. We need to find models that work for us, and we need to have the South-South dialogue, because we tend to look to Hollywood. When we have Nollywood, we have Bollywood, and we have our South African very high-quality content. The challenge really for us is to sit around the table with the right people, because some of us have been doing this work for a very long time, Minister. I chair the Children's Broadcasting Foundation for Africa. So I'm in the sector since 1993. Also part of social cohesion, also part of developing young people in the media sphere, part of training and development and growing our narratives. How are we going to be able to ensure that our content is shown? Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much indeed, Firdaus. Let's go quickly to Tendo Ramakoma on table number 16. Again, if you could be as brief as possible. Table 16. Tendo.
The Macharoni. Thank you very much, Minister, and your panel there, and the delegates here. I have 2 quick questions. I don't want to sound repetitive.
Which one is the most important?
Yes. Social cohesion, national building, it's something that to many may sound rhetoric. Without a small ingredient, social integration. That's precisely what the minister was talking about, the absence of the other groups in South Africa. Too many a gathering will reflect a pan-African picture or image, like what we are here. Even in Stadia, when you call for national celebrations, we need to add social integration to the 2 elements. The last one, we are the only continent that borrows from Europe in terms of tuition in education. It's Portuguese, it's English, it's French. When will we liberate the African child and start teaching in their indigenous language or languages? Because content doesn't change because you teach me geometry in Chivenda so that I can understand. The content remains. So if we were to leave a legacy for the grandchildren of our children, let us begin now by integrating that and come up with targets and plans to say, by this year, we'll start with isiZulu, Chivenda, Xitsonga, because nobody else will come and do it if we don't do it now.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. And whilst I give our guests a little bit of time just to stew on that, we're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we'll pick up some of your comments on Twitter as well and get those questions answered. Stay with us.